Hey friends, I'm Otis Gibbs, and this is my buddy Joe Pug. He's going to share a great story about John Prine's manager, Al Bunetta.
I would say that I could probably take the flag for the person who never met John Prine who got the closest on the most occasions. Because so when I first started playing music, we had like a little bit of a cup of coffee where got courted by a couple labels, right? And some of them were in New York, and one of them was Oh Boy, because Oh Boy Records, John Prine's record label, God, he might have been an intern now at the time. He's an agent and a manager now for Vector, this guy named Josh Talley in Nashville. Josh was about my age, was a big fan of my music. He might have been more than an intern at Oh Boy at this time, and so he makes this big push for me to be signed to Oh Boy Records. Oh Boy Records at this time is being run by Prine's longtime manager, Al Bunetta. Al Bunetta, where do you start? First of all, rest in peace. He's no longer with us. Al was like an East Coast Italian guy. And I think I'm getting this correct in that he told me once that before he managed John Prine, he managed something along the lines of like a roller skating chimpanzee or something. Might have not been like a roller skating chimpanzee, but like he managed like some sort of like carny act, basically. I don't think I'm making this up. Like now that I'm telling you and like this will be published to the internet, it makes you a little bit self-conscious to say something so outlandish like that. But Bunetta was involved in some way with like this, just like the entertainment business, not the music business. And he said something along the lines to me where he was like, I was managing the chimp and then I heard Sam Stone. I dropped the chimp the next day. You know what I mean? Like something along those lines. And so the big deal was we were going to fly down to Nashville and we were going to meet with Oh Boy Records. Of course, you don't get to just meet John Prine. John Prine is like the carrot at the end of the stick for all this. So we go meet this guy, Josh, who was working at the label, who was the big fan. And we meet Al Bunetta, who is in his office and who he was clearly not interested really in signing me. Like he had made all the money he needed to make, you know what I mean? He was later in his career. It was just like, okay, the guy that runs my label day to day is interested in like signing a younger act. So I go in and meet him in his office and we kind of get along in a way. Like we kind of develop a little bit of a rapport. He goes, would you like to come out to my farm later tonight? Like, yeah. And he was like, do you like hot rods? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the last time I thought about, a hot rod was watching like Home Improvement in 1997, with Tim Allen. Like, I don't, a hot rod is not really my vibe, but whatever. So we go out. He lived, I don't know. Where all the people who made money in Nashville go to, Franklin. Yeah. So he lived in Franklin. So we go out and he had a farm out there. And the first thing that we see is his wife they have pit bulls, and I can see it in my mind's eye. So I know that this happened. She was around the perimeter of their property it was a golf cart without a canopy on top. So it was like one of those golf carts that kind of go fast. And she had 3 leashes on 3 dogs, and the dogs were running full stop, and she was in the golf cart behind them, like going around the property like this. It's an intense vibe, you know what I mean? You're like, wow. I think they were pit bulls. They were like aggressive animals. And there's this very nice house at the top of a hill, and at the bottom of the hill, there was like small airplane hangar, as if you owned like a Cessna or something like that. Al welcomes us as me and my manager at the time, and he was like, come with me. Let's go to my little, my man cave. And he takes us into this airplane hangar, and you open the door, and it's like, I'm sure this isn't the case, but in my mind's eye, it wasn't even like a switch he hits, like one of those flip, like from cartoons, like the way that you would turn on like the electric chair in a cartoon. He flips this thing and these floodlights go on, and there are dozens of completely cherry hot rods of all different stripes on like this beautiful, just the poured like enamel concrete floor that they're on would have cost more money than I've had in my entire lifetime, much less the hot rods on top of it. And he was like, yeah, my hot rods, Joe, you got to check out these jars of weed that I have now. And he went over and hit these huge ornate jars of weed, like in the kind of weed that just has like, like neon hairs on it and shit, like the kind of stuff that you're like, I'll have an identity crisis if I smoke this with him. So he's like, I'm going to roll a joint and then you want to come with me in a hot rod? I think what he was trying to do at the time is I think he was kind of like trying to like separate me from my manager at the time. Smart move. I was like 24 years old. So we get in this hot rod. He lights up a joint and we go tearing around what must have been Franklin, Tennessee or something like that at night. I'll never forget the piece of wisdom that Al Bunetta gave me that night. He's going around, he's talking about all these different stories of John Prine over the years. And he goes, we come to a stop sign and his joint had gone out. So he's trying to light the joint. And he goes, Joe, never trust anybody who says, trust me. Unless they're saying, trust me, I don't give a fuck. Lights the joint, takes the trap. And we go tearing off in the hot rod again, It was, I mean, he told me that 15 years ago, and I can hear it. I can hear it. And I can remember sitting at the stop sign, completely dark, no street lights somewhere in front, and him saying that. And he's gone now, but, So that was, anyway, long story short, Al would then offer us a record deal that was completely untenable. Like, it was just like, because he wanted to take like a lot of my publishing. It's like, well, I'm 24 years old. I can't sell you my publishing in perpetuity, Al. But he was very gracious about that. It was kind of one of those deals where he was one of those old school music business guys that you could tell was like trying to like kind of get one over on you, but was kind of doing it in like a straightforward way. Like it wasn't like a weaselly way. It was kind of, he was just like, I'm trying to get one over on you here, Joe. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, well, I'm not going to let you, do that. And so it didn't end up working out. I wouldn't sign the deal. And then Bunetta immediately, kind of played hardball in that way, which is, as we were talking about the record deal, it was all like, wow, John's got a lot of shows coming up. It's like you sign with the label, you get to go, presumably go play with John Prine. But, Al, that all got shut down after that, completely understandably. That's how business works, man. I get it. Then years later, so I missed out on my chance to meet, my hero, John Prine at that point. I get it. Totally cool. No problem. Years later, I got a chance. The Ann Arbor Folk Festival called me and they were like, we'd like you to MC the festival. And I'm not an MC. I don't want to MC. But they said you would introduce all these artists and you get to introduce John Prine at the end. And it was like, listen, I don't want to travel. I got little kids, man. I don't want to travel from my house to Ann Arbor to not play a gig and just go MC something. But if I get to introduce John Prine, I'm there, man. So I take the gig. I go out. I spend all this time like working on the script for the gig to introduce all these different artists. And I introduced all of them. And then on night number 2, Prine was there. And he was going to come in from stage right. He was in the wings in stage right. And I'm on the wings in stage left. And I'm there with the stage manager. And I've introduced all the other artists for the festival so far. And I'm there with the stage manager. She's like, ready to go. And then Prine's longtime road manager, Mitchell, comes over. He just breezes right over. He's a professional, obviously, because he could tell what was about to happen. And right as I'm about to like take a step on stage, I just feel a hand on my chest. And then he says, not to me, but to the stage manager, he just goes, John Prine doesn't do introductions. That was it. Lights go down. He walks on stage. And I get it. You know what I mean? John Prine has earned the right to not be introduced. And his tour manager, it's your whole damn job to... If your artist doesn't want to be introduced and he's the headliner, he better not have some clown from PG County, Maryland jumping on stage. And I had this whole like ornate biography I was going to read about John Prine as if anyone needed that, So it was the right call in the end. But then at the end of it, so Prine plays a great set and he goes, well, any other artists who are here tonight that want to come up and sing Paradise, come on up. So I got to jump on stage with, a dozen other people that had played that night and technically be on the stage singing Paradise with him and got about 12 feet from him. He acknowledged me, he gave me a nod and, I think that's about as close as you can get to meeting John Prine without meeting him.